Israel beginning to withdraw military forces from parts of Gaza after its cabinet approved the Trump-brokered peace deal with Hamas. According to Middle East envoy Steve Witkoff, Hamas has 72 hours to release all hostages, including both the living and the dead. As for Gaza, thousands of Palestinians begin returning to the north as the ceasefire takes hold. Hello, everyone. This is Outnumbered. I'm Emily Compagno, and joining us today, Molly Line, Fox News correspondent, Tomi Lahren, co-host of The Big Weekend Show and host of Tomi Lahren is Fearless on Outkick, Nicole Saphier, Fox News contributor and board-certified physician, and David Asman, Fox Business anchor. Now, this is what the ceasefire looks like. Thousands of Palestinians are heading north, returning home after 2 years of war begins to wind down. The IDF beginning its own withdrawal to a predetermined yellow line. Now, the IDF confirming the withdrawal process began at around midnight, stating this: IDF troops began positioning themselves along the updated deployment lines, in preparation for the ceasefire agreement and the return of hostages. IDF troops in the Southern Command are deployed in the area and will continue to remove any immediate threat. Now, the U.S. will send about 200 troops into Israel, but only to monitor the ceasefire deal in Gaza. Now that the first part of the deal is in effect, President Trump says he is no longer dismissing the idea of a Palestinian state. Watch.
We're going to see how it all goes. And, you know, there's a point at which we may do something that would be a little bit different and may be very positive for everybody. But we'll be looking at that at the time. They know exactly what we're doing. We're going to create something where people can live. You can't live right now in Gaza. The place is it's a horrible situation. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. So, yeah, we're going to create better conditions for people.
A lot of hope on the horizon, Dave, as we await the return of those hostages first and foremost on Monday or Tuesday.
There is. Of course, anything can happen. But to look at the whole progression of this from the time Trump came into office to where we are now is important, I think. And one of the first things he did, and he's been thinking about this, of course, he started with the Abraham Accords during his first administration, but he's been thinking about it during the 4 years of the Biden administration, where we got all confused about who was our enemy and who was our friend. Israel is our friend. It's our closest ally in the Middle East, but so are a lot of those Arab nations that the Biden administration essentially gave a cold shoulder to, particularly Saudi Arabia. But Trump got back into the sphere of recognizing the value of our Arab allies in the Middle East, particularly those because they were as afraid of Iran becoming nuclearized as Israel was. He began treating Iran as the head of the snake, and he went right for it. He cut off all those possibilities of getting extra money from their oil revenue. He certainly wasn't sending them cash the way the Obama administration was. And, of course, finally, it all led to Israel's attack of their surrogates in Lebanon and Gaza, Hezbollah and Hamas, which this administration let them go for. The previous administration was always against Israel trying to make any waves to go against people who are murdering their own civilians. We let them go. Of course, he'd always have to pull them back at times when they were going too far. But ultimately, climaxing in this extraordinary attack on the nuclear facilities in Iran, which nobody had the guts to do before Trump. Some people say they didn't have the ability to do it with the U.S. forces in bad shape. But all of this has led to the peace deal. I mean, before you have peace, you have to argue from a position of strength. We were arguing from a position of weakness, not just for the Biden administration, but for the Obama/Biden administration, because they were all doing exactly the wrong things, giving help to our enemies and giving a cold shoulder to our friends. And Trump completely turned that around. And here we are.
That's right. And the argument, too, Molly Line, is that he emboldened his advisors and his team, his phenomenal team, to do the same, which is leverage their existing economic and professional relationships going back decades via Steve Witkoff, Jared Kushner, et cetera, so that they can come to this mutually agreeable solution rather than having this siloed approach in past administrations, which is ignoring the integrative economic factors and ignoring the region's interest in peace, ignoring the region's acknowledgement that Iran was a blight in their entire region for decades. So it seems that in the past, it felt that these announcements were symbolic, but yesterday it certainly felt that for once and finally it was substantive.
Yeah, some great points. And David, I think you have a great point. And earlier this year, when President Trump made this, historic economic trip throughout the Middle East and developed those relationships, and all of that added up to potentially where we are and what we hope to see in the coming days. I have the heart in the throat moment waiting to see these hostages come home, 20 living hostages potentially being reunited with their families. That alone is a remarkable achievement. But we can't act like this isn't all about the economics, the relationships that have been built, that President Trump did the second he got into office and made these historic trips. And he had offered all along the road, these opportunities for Iran to rejoin the world economy. The carrot, the stick, if it doesn't go his way, he's willing to act. And the messages that he's sent since he's gotten into office have certainly led people to understand that he means what he says.
And Tommy, in the celebration, rightly so, with still bated breath for the return of the hostages, I argue that notably absent from all of the celebration are all of those Democratic lawmakers, for example, who have been shouting for ceasefire for the last 2 years, as well as the media, who seems to find it difficult to acknowledge that this president achieved something historic. But notably, the Wall Street Journal columnist Peggy Noonan, who's often a Trump critic, she says that the president should have gotten the Nobel Peace Prize, or at least the credit for the peace deal, writing this, quote, "Give it to him. Give him your applause," she says. Sometimes pessimism reaches a point of moral error. Sometimes hope is the only realistic approach. What are your thoughts?
It's not hard to root for peace. We would think we could all be joined in that. This is a peace president. He's proved it over and over again. I know we're going to talk about this later, but the First Lady's speech today also doing great things that others have promised and she has acted on and advocated for. But going back to your initial point, where are all the ceasefire now folks in the streets, the Queers for Palestine, the very angry students on college campuses who camped out and who barricaded doors in the name of supposedly free Palestine, the Palestinian people, the people of Gaza? They should be celebrating today. We've seen a lot of footage of actual Palestinians celebrating, right? Even celebrating President Trump. So I would assume if you truly believe in peace and you truly believe in the concept of free Palestine or the Palestinian people, then you should celebrate this. But we haven't seen them. We haven't seen them celebrating. We haven't seen them giving this president any credit. So it's hard to come to any other conclusion other than their rallying cry, their battle cry for free Palestine and Gaza and the people that were supposedly victims of genocide was disingenuous at best.
That's right. It's deafening. Silence is deafening from Rashida Tlaib and the entire group over there. Doctor, the world is sort of looking on, I think, in expectation with horror at the state of the hostages that we might expect. Talk to us about what that might look like and how we can support that.
Well, I think we have to start off by saying that President Trump is the most effective leader in the entire world. He is only accomplishing things that everyone has talked about. He is bringing the Middle East closer to peace. But while I do bask in the hope and the optimism like everybody else does right now, thinking about all of this makes me very angry. When you think of the hostages coming home, October 7th should have never happened. And if President Trump was in the White House 2 years ago, I personally believe it would not have happened. What happened was you had a weak Biden administration. They were very weak on Iran. They had mixed messaging with Israel, and they created this vacuum that allowed Hamas to fill it with terror. And that is what we have saw. We have now seen Israelis, Americans, innocent Gazans have all suffered, all at the hands of President Biden and weak Democrats. And so now President Trump is leading with strength. But we're about to see 20 hostages come home who have been ripped from their homes for 2 years. The physical and emotional trauma that they have suffered and endured, this will last with them for their entire life. And the medics, the hospitals, they're already preparing for them. I mean, they have a long road to recovery. So I find myself sitting here very angry, very upset, so grateful for President Trump and where we are right now, but we should have never been here in the first place. And this is on the Democrats, and their silence right now is deafening. They never wanted peace. They only wanted control, and they like control in the hands of the terrorists. They want to see Israel obliterated. I mean, they have shown their cards.
Yeah, and I'm sure what we're going to hear from them is something else. They're going to start, talk about the Medicare. There's going to be something, because they will all refuse to acknowledge that Their dreams and hopes were answered, but it was simply via the wrong president.
And where is the United Nations? Why are we
exactly.
spending $13 billion a year funding the United Nations, at least that much, if not more? They're the ones that they weren't involved in this at all. This was all done by essentially one man. I mean, it's extraordinary that they still have their positions here in New York City and all around the world, because I didn't see them doing a damn thing.
You're right. Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.